everyone, and welcome to episode number 6 of Really Bad Security, our second actually YouTube series from the Cloud Security Alliance West Michigan. This is going to be a really interesting episode and an important one as well. We're going to step a little bit away from technology and talk a little bit more about the human side of security in talking about diversity and inclusion and how not having a diverse and inclusive security team is actually really bad security. So with me today, as always, we've got Anthony and Lloyd from the Really Bad Security team. We also are introducing today Joanna Udo from Bridges and Tech and the newest member of the Cloud Security Alliance Board of Directors. She is our Director of Diversity and Inclusion, and we're super happy to have her along. Our guests for this week are Ranu Parmar, Rebecca Harvey, and Arun Desousa from WomSA, the Women's Security Alliance. So, Ranu, I'm going to start with you, and then we'll just have a free-flowing conversation here. But let's talk a little bit about that question that comment that I posed earlier. So why is not having diversity and inclusion bad security? And then on the flip side of that, let's talk about, having a diverse and inclusive team around you helps with your security.
Yeah, thank you, Matt. I think, as we all know, technology is part of everything we do today, right? Without technology, we cannot do anything. And after COVID and during this COVID and post-COVID, it's going to play an important role. So when we introduce new technology, it introduces business risk and cybersecurity risk, right? In this rapid changing in IT and everything else, and with these complexities, is number one challenges with bad security right now. And with second big challenge right now is the unavailability of skilled cybersecurity resources to support this risk and evolving IT environment. So with all these two items of risk that I have talked about, I think we need to focus more on talent pool and cybersecurity talent that we need right now. And diversity always helps with innovation. When you have a diverse talent pool, you always have different mindsets, all about the mindset that plays very important role. And I think being a co-founder of WomSA, this is where I realized we are always in all talk shows, every events we are talking about, we don't have resources. We don't have resources. We need to focus on solutions right now. And this is where WomSA, we have a platform where we focus on security, education, training, and awareness that can help. That is also a very contributing factor to our solution, right now we have. So that's my take on that.
Yeah, so I love something that you said there, and that was about innovation, because I think one of the parts of this conversation that happens is, we should have diversity inclusion because it's the right thing to do, or because it feels good, or there's a lot of non-tangible things that I think we get stuck in saying, and those things I think can fade. But if we talk about the reality of having different thoughts and different mindsets coming at our security issues, we're going to be better. That's I think at the end of this is my hope that we talk through all of this and we understand that it's more than just the right thing to do. This is because this will make all of us better at what we do. It will make our companies more secure. And honestly, with everything that's going on in the world today, this will make our world more secure as well.
Yeah, and one of the reasons that innovation does that is it eliminates and minimizes groupthink. Yeah. So we get a lot of groupthink going on in homogenous organizations.
Yeah, and yes.
And if we look at, like was mentioned, the huge skill shortage right now, right? There's, last time I looked, something like 3 million open cyber jobs in the U.S. alone. That's enough to, I think, fill a whole city, right? So I've always believed diversity is twofold, right? You get, when you're stretching out, you are getting those additional, people to join your talent pool, but also, you're bringing in diversity of thought. So, again,
Mindset,
minimizing
yeah.
groupthink and things of that nature, to, come to ideas and possibilities that, you're to, I'm just going to say it, your white dude team of engineers is not going to think of.
So thinking about that, Anthony, I guess you could look at it from both sides, either as a leader or as somebody approaching your leader, and you want to break that group think. So I really believe, and having been in leadership roles before, that having that diverse team to everything we're talking about is super important and helpful, especially in terms of helping your business grow and remain competitive with that innovation. So what are some ways that you could approach a leader or somebody in your organization that does hiring to really break down the fact that, hey, look, I think we need more diversity in our team? Like, what can we do to have those conversations?
I think it starts with building the relationship with the HR department, right? Because I think sometimes they just don't get it, right? I've seen some job descriptions on the web and it's almost copy paste. All of them are the same. They're not pinned to critical success factors, key responsibility areas. What are we really trying to achieve? Twofold. One is to support the business, minimize enterprise risk. So part of it is educational process. That being said, I think it's important to work with HR departments to build a grassroots talent pipeline across the board. And I know it was mentioned earlier, university. I think we should even start earlier. If companies can build a relationship with nearby schools, for example, and just like you have science club, start cyber club, have competition, catch them young. I think that's where you start. And then let's say you started in the 8th grade. Then by the 10th grade, the superstars, the guys or gals who are interested in cyber. And if they're really good, hey, offer them a scholarship of some kind, and then offer them co-op opportunities, right, through your program, and so on. And I think you got to be creative. I didn't speak and answer the prior question, but I shall now. For me, whenever I build a team, it's for me building the richest tapestry of talent that I can find with the most creative thought process and the most comprehensive skill set. And I can tell you for a fact, on my team right now, I have 7 people. 4 of them are ladies and 3 of them are guys. So, more than 50% ladies. And that was not by design. They earned this spot on the team. They brought that creativity. They brought the depth of skills, right? But the way I was able to do that is to enact some of the principles, at least if not at the school level, but with the universities and giving students opportunity for co-op. I'm also on the Saginaw school district security thing as well, and I spent some time with them, and I know they're way ahead of many others. So I think, to answer your question another way, it's a very adaptive cyclical process. Number one, relationship. Number 2, I should say, is the talent pipeline, starting very young in schools all the way to university, giving talented kids a chance. And really celebrating that diversity and filling your tapestry with the colors of creativity and innovation that was just said, and really the desire to pursue challenges, right?
Yeah. Okay. So a couple of fascinating things that you said there, Arun. One was the creating the relationship with the human resources departments. Now, anyone that has watched me stand on my soapboxes for however long I've been standing on them would know that I talk a lot about security becoming more involved in talking to the business, because I feel like sometimes security does things in a bubble themselves, kind of outside of the business, or is just there to say no whenever the business wants to do something, types of things. So we talk a lot about talking to the business leaders that are out there, understanding and helping enable the company do its job. Now you're kind of taking that to another level, which I think is interesting and will make security people even more nervous, as that is building that relationship with their human resources department. But that is, if the leaders, and Lloyd, back to your point, if the hiring, the managers that are doing the hiring are not just relying on keywords on resumes, right, but actually going to their human resources department and having these conversations, then I think that's going to broaden the pool of talent that they're looking for. Now, Joanna, I know that, in some of your Bridges and Tech meetings, we've had lots of conversations about resumes and job descriptions and all of those things. So for people that might be listening, that are involved in that may be putting a job description together, can you talk a little bit about how even the wording of job descriptions can sometimes be non-inclusive?
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of times, job descriptions are so vague. You, all of us that have had jobs know this. You are just graduating out of college, and you're reading a job description, and it's like just referencing the most random stuff and very, very vague terms, right? Culture fit, right? Must be able to fit in the culture of the team. And okay, well, that's cool. I show up to the interview and there is 6 white guys. I mean, I'm not really sure what type of culture I'm trying to fit in here, right? And all this, you learn very specific things in school, which our education system is so broken. Depending on what school you go to, a lot of these things weren't even taught in the school. And so now they're like, this job is $25 an hour, but you need to have 7 years of experience, and you need to understand how Cisco routers work and this other system and this security tool, 15 different ones, which you have to spend a year learning at least every single one of those. And most companies only have one, but we want you to know that as well. And on top of that, you have to be a great writer, be ready for any emotional trauma that's going to come with this job, and like all those different things for $25. And you just graduated yesterday, and no, your internship doesn't count. So okay, I don't think I'm ready. Okay, let me go look for more entry-level jobs. All right, here's an entry-level job that's $13 an hour, but it still requires 2 years of experience. Like that thing right there discourages people. Because I don't have 2 years of experience. I'm trying to get the experience. How can I get that? And a lot of times, while men may feel more comfortable with applying for it, they're like, shoot, I heard some of these words before, let me go ahead and apply. Women and even, other maybe people of color would be like, I don't have 2 years of experience, so I'm not qualified for the job. And so you've already blocked an entire pool of people that you could have hired for this position just off of your job description.
That's fascinating. I never even considered that, because I have that exact same mindset. Like when I apply for a job, if I'm like, yeah, I meet 3 or 4 of these things, I'll do well in the interviews, but I'll just apply.
Yeah, I'll do well in the interview.
It never occurred to me that might really intimidate some people.
There was one that went around LinkedIn recently that was someone had a job posting for like 7 years of Kubernetes experience. Only been around for like 4 years, or it was like, who is writing these things? So I do feel like there is now. Do you think some of because again, in our last Not Another Demo episode, we talked about how developers oftentimes get a bad rap because we talk about all this insecure code, right? Developers aren't out there purposely writing bad code. There's reasons for it. So when I guess to defend human resources people, like what's the key to, without saying human resources people write terrible job descriptions, we always try to find the positive on or the step forward on any of this. So like what's some solutions there, and where does that stem from? I'll throw that out to everybody.
Yeah,
go ahead.
Sorry, if I may, I think if you just get to brass tacks, to me there are at least 3 dimensions that need to be solved. The first is it's a change management problem, because you've got to be able to work with the business leaders, with HR, make sure to frame the situation to them and get them to make the right choices. Because my God, can you imagine if you're trying to get into security as a lady, and I've got 2 daughters, the optics, they're really scary. I got to go and work with 10 guys in the security department, and that could be scary. So how do you get HR to get them to do that. One way to do that is in the talent pipeline. When you start relations with schools or universities, have ambassadors that can go out and sell your program, right? Real people, like for example, I try to do that sometimes. That's the first thing. The second one is, I think, priority and program management. And this is very key. There is a phrase that I've been using for many years. It's differentiate desirements from requirements. And to Joanna's point earlier, when you have 7 years of Kubernetes, I want 8 out of these 10 things, unrealistic. So what we got to do is distill those down, say, what do we really need? What are we going to flex on? How can we hire people young with a training plan to grow into the role in 1 or 2 years? Because if we keep looking for the perfect candidate for all positions all of the time, the gap is going to go up from 3 million to 5 million very fast, particularly because of the exponential rise of the IoT. Last but not the least, it's value management, right? Value both for the candidate and for the company, and being able to work with HR, upper management, universities, schools, and everything, and providing that forum to interact in the right way to make everybody successful. I know I said a lot, but it's not a simple problem. I was trying to distill it down into a few words.
All right.
Yeah.
So do you hear that, security people? You have your HR departments now.
One of the things. Oh, I'm sorry.
I wanted to add that, yes, we cannot just blame HR for this. A lot of times it's also the leader's fault. And it's not really the leader's fault by choice. It's more so that they hired Joanna for this job. And Joanna just likes to learn a lot of different things. So Joanna came from varied experiences and knows about Cisco routers and knows about the security tools and knows about that security tool. And so Joanna has been doing the job of 10 people for the last 5 years. And now Joanna has moved on and they're trying to replace Joanna. That's why they have all of this random different stuff in there that has nothing to do with anything, right? So instead of trying to replace that exact person, what exactly do you need for this job, right? What are you looking for? What should the person that have this job reasonably be able to do? Not just things they picked up on their spare time or because there wasn't enough resources and all of that. So if the leader can sit down with HR and articulate those things, they can come up with much better descriptions. But typically, a lot of times they're overwhelmed or whatever, and they're like, wait, this is all the things Joanna used to do. Yeah, let's just slap that on a job description. And oftentimes HR just takes that and copies and pastes it on the thing, and we have this.
Well, I was going to ask, because Lloyd, you've been in that type of situation before. Like, what was your interaction with HR? Did you typically just send them, here's what I'm looking for, and they go out and try to find it? Is there, because I feel like there's a breakdown in that process somewhere.
Yeah, I'd agree to some extent with that. You send over the requirements to HR, you work with the HR recruiter, and then the magic happens. It goes into that mystery box, and then they hand you a whole bunch of candidates. And what I was wondering about is if those unrealistic requirements are just a systemic problem of the system. That's just years over years we've put those on there with the intent of trying to attract better talent, or if it's just, hey, we throw those on there for to create barriers or whatever it is. But yeah, engaging the HR department, there definitely needs to be, I think, more partnership, more visibility into their selection process. And we got algorithms now, so more and more algorithms, more and more of this AI is trying to determine who's going to get hired. And some articles I've read have said that bias gets bred into the algorithms because the people designing them are the the white males that are stereotypical in those roles. Not in all cases. So I've got a few thoughts around that, and Matt, I definitely agree that interfacing with HR, depending on your company, could use some work.
Yeah, and if I may, I think Becca knows I've been ranting about this bias in AI quite a few number of years in various sessions, but in this particular case, part of the issue is what happens is not just what you said earlier, but the way we try to filter out the candidates or process resumes is based on a task focused way, right? You need these 10 things here and those 5 things there. We got to go back to first principles and say, okay, what are the key services for a security program? Okay, what are the skills you need to acquire? And then how are you going to train up your team that exists to cover those skills, and then grow people through co-op programs, or even give people a chance so that 2 years you'll get and make yourself whole. So if you change the way we are processing these algorithms, or even looking for people, focus on skills and talent rather than rote tasks, right? Transform the whole talent management process to a process focused one rather than a task oriented process. I think that is a transformational paradigm that is long overdue. And if we're going to get ahead of the curve and close the gap, I think that's what we need to do.
I think, Arun, I'm in an agreement with you. We talk about in security, right? Security by design, right? All this needs to be baked in. It should be part of their mission. And that's how it should roll out. And once it's roll out, it becomes like, okay, the other thing that Lloyd was talking about, the AI algorithm. How do you bake in all those things, right? Is it like some filters that gets the diversity group dropped? So it's like thinking, from technology aspects, from administrative control aspects. So I think it adds value if they bake it in their mission.
Yeah,
Well said, Ranu.
well.
Yeah.
And I think
one
that
other-
was, our how did you word that earlier, Anthony? White dude. When we looked at our board of directors from the CSA this year, we decided that we needed to do exactly that, was bake that into our mission that we were, and it, so far I think is working. So I think that's a great idea. Becca, I wanna bring you in a little bit. I mean, we've talked about kind of the immediate need of, that there's a huge talent pool shortage, and we talked a lot about maybe what companies can do and HR companies can do, but I think we have to talk even further back than that. Colleges and what they can do probably before that, because if you haven't decided by the time you get to college to go into security, maybe it's too late because you're already going down this other path. So let's just talk about education in general. And, I know, having elementary aged kids, there are some fantastic careers out there that are never part of any conversation. We still have this kind of engineer, doctor, lawyer mentality. So what are your thoughts around like the current state of education and how that could improve as well? Put you on the spot.
Yeah, wow. So I'm not in education, full disclosure there. I do have numerous family members who are, so I hear a little bit about that. I think that, we still have bias in education. We still have problems getting enough females into STEM programs early on. I think some of it is the education system. Some of it is, it's at home. It's the dynamics at home. I feel fortunate. I have a mom who's a computer programmer and was into computers before they were even a thing. I mean, it was, so I, feel like I was in a unique environment. And when I speak to other women who grew up in different households or different types of households, there's a different, there's less, I'm like, of course you can do that. Of course you can go into that. And it just may not have occurred to them to look at, certain types of careers. So I think, we need to figure out a way to change the culture early on. But yeah, I mean, I know that universities are trying to make it their mission to have diversity and inclusion, and departments themselves need to make it their mission too. So when we look at cybersecurity positions, we need those tracks to ensure that they are, reaching out to diverse student populations and not just attracting, the typical homogenous groups.
Yeah. So you made a couple of great points there. Parents not knowing, for one reason or another, maybe not knowing areas to talk to their kids about. I think security, I know, like for me, I kind of fell in, I fell out of IT and fell into the security bucket. And I think a lot of people my age that was kind of the case because we started our career before there was security. But again, I don't even hear that being talked about a whole lot. And what's interesting to me about that is you can't turn on the news right now without there, being talks of, breaches and hacks and concerns about, escalation of these sorts of things. So there somehow is, I think as an industry, we're doing a bad job of marketing ourselves, even to parents of kids who are going, you know, like trying to figure out what they should do. And
I think the message is like it's something very difficult. Cybersecurity is something very difficult to achieve. You know, when they think and see first time, like, wow, is it? It's not possible. If they think of coding, computing, and everything, something very complex. But there are so many uh, talent needs for cybersecurity. It's just not technology. There is control, administrative stuff that we do, policy writers, risk advisors. So there are different avenues that can be explored. And to your point, not much visibility is there, nor awareness.
yeah,
I think though that
internally we do go ahead, Joanna.
Well, I was going to say, I don't think that it's more so that it's so hard, because when I think about a lot of Black parents, I'm not going to say Black parents, but I'm going to say Nigerian parents, for example, because my parents are Nigerian. They all want their kids to be a doctor, a lawyer, an engineer. Those are prestige jobs.
Yeah.
They're not easy. It's not easy to be a doctor.
Arun is laughing.
Probably the same concept. But it's not, being a doctor is not easy. The parents understand that it's hard work and they expect their kids to be at the best at this stuff. So I think we do really poor marketing in showing parents that being a security person is also a very prestige job, because they want the best for their kids, and they're going, you're going to be Dr. Joanna, like that's something. You're going to be who? Security? What? That don't mean anything, right? So
although security whatever may have the same salary as Dr. whatever these days, right? And
they don't know that.
I think internally we go, we don't have enough people, and then we don't spread that conversation out to go, you know, hey, 10, 11, 12-year-old kids who are starting to think about what you want to do for a career, this one is pretty darn good. You know, I think we do a terrible job of that across the board. So we rely on a lot of, you know, people to kind of fall into security. I know a lot of people who didn't, like, I didn't plan to get into security. They just happened to be that way. So
well, I was a plug in my Bridges in Tech. I actually plan on hosting an event that's solely for parents to learn about the different careers in technology, right? Because Bridges in Tech isn't focused on just security, but a lot of times we're spending time, we're talking to the children, we're educating the children, we're educating the teachers. Actually, we do a very poor job educating the teachers, but we're educating HR and all these different people. But the parents who have the most influence on their kids are so clueless as to what these jobs are. So I'm hoping to be able to pull together an event where we can like explain all this to parents, show them the salary ranges, show them the opportunities, and they can start thinking about that for their kids. And, you know, sometimes kids don't listen to their parent, but you know, there's something about hearing it at home more than once that makes you at least take a look and do the research for yourself.
So thinking about that, Joanna, you know, we've like, let's say we've built that relationship with HR, we've diversified our teams, but our organization doesn't necessarily have a strong, robust diversity program. So while I've got this diverse team, I'm starting to run into some conflicts that, you know, naturally occur between a diverse cultural background. Do you have any tips or suggestions for us on how we could manage that type of diverse team? And do you think that emotional intelligence awareness plays a big factor into helping diverse teams have cohesion as you bring them together?
Companies have to open their checkbooks and hire experts.
I'd agree.
Right? To help them with that, to help them design a program that is inclusive of everybody, but also be open-minded, right? And listen, and not reprimand people for the silliest things, right? You know, a Black woman can't have her curly hair to work because it's not professional. Like, but it starts with the company investing in learning more about these different cultures and having experts teach them, because I can tell you all day, you're not going to believe me, but having those experts, but also listening to what the team needs and what the conflicts that the team have, right? If a person of a different culture is constantly clashing with this person and they reported it to their leader and their leader is not doing anything about it, nobody's getting written up, nothing is being done about it, the person is just frustrated because they keep doing all the same things, they're doing all the work, they're not getting the credit, they're not getting promoted, eventually they just quit the job. There's so many women that have joined the workforce that have left because it's not been inclusive and it's not it's not been equitable, and they just have to leave. So companies need to pay attention to those things and make sure that they're doing the best that they can to improve those situations, so that once those people get their foot in the door, they want to stay, right? They feel comfortable enough to stay.
But that's also a leadership challenge, right? I think we can steal a page from sales and marketing, and not to be funny, but you know how they have the employee of the quarter, the sales superstars of the year. We need to do more of those kinds of things, not just within security program, but even when you are making outreach to schools and universities, having those kinds of things, because everybody loves recognition, and recognition has two things, right? It makes people feel more valued, but then they know that you're valuing them as well. And the other thing that can also be done is what I call the power of federation, right? So now WomSA there is, but also Girls Who Code, and I know that it's not exactly the same, but they have the outreach mechanisms. How about expanding the reach by the power of federation, by expanding the coalition and sort of cross leverage, these channels that you have for recruiting talent? There's a lot of things we can do,
Mhm.
So speaking of WomSA, let's spend some time talking about your mission and some of the things that you guys are doing. So, maybe briefly give us a little bit of background on the organization, and then let's talk about your mission and kind of things that you guys are doing or have planned to do.
Yes, Matt. Our mission is like cybersecurity career is possible for anyone if they have a passion and interest. And we have a very robust mentoring program that helps with professional development. Like we have talked about numerous points here, right? They don't know the path, everything else. So we use like a technology also like CyberSeek tool and everything else to map it. So our mentors are experienced people in the industries, leaders, experienced people, and our mentees/members are people who need help. So that combination really helps. And we did a SurveyMonkey results for our first quarter, and we got a good feedback about how to improve our program. And again, as a part of continuous improvement, we are open to all kinds of input we get and mature our program. So our mentoring program is very effective here to bring talent pool.
Yeah, we also do customized training roadmaps that the mentors are involved in, and those are based on cybersecurity standards, frameworks, and best practices, as Ranu mentioned. And we facilitate educational courses. So once they have a path, we get them the education that they need or point them in that direction. We can help connect them to funding, employment connections, and ultimately networking opportunities to interact with executives, recruiters, and industry experts.
So talk to me a little bit more about this mentoring program, because I hear it a lot and I struggle to, like, I would be happy to mentor someone. I don't know what that means. So can you talk to us a little bit about, like, what does the mentor-mentee engagement look like? I mean,
Yes.
what do those conversations include, and what is that?
I can share one of my personal conversation that I had with my mentee. And she's extremely good. She understands everything. Very curious person, asking too many questions. Why? Everything is like, why? So then and there I thought she's perfect for root cause analysis and security risk, right? And that really worked out well for her. Like, wow, to understand the strengths and where the interests are, just map it, understanding it basically, and how it can leverage to security. That why's the questions for root cause analysis that she kept asking me was a trigger for me, like, this is perfect for risk. And this is where I was totally diverting her to the risk, and she liked it. She liked it and she was very much interested. And I said, you know what, you do risk now, next step is audit for you. You go ahead and ask questions to all those engineers that do work. I mean, you're not going to be liked, but you get your job done, right?
So do you find, so is the mentor, is it more personal and less like
It can be gauged.
Where's the, let's say it's the first time of a mentor and a mentee meeting with each other. How does that conversation go? Is the mentor trying to find out just like personal stuff about that person, or is it more business related? Is it more technical? Can you kind of walk me through
It's
one
just
of those?
the interest. It's just the interest of the mentee and the members that to understand the listening skills, right? The first step is the listening skills, to understand where you want to go, where are you right now, what's your career path looks like, how are you interested in security? Well, this is what do you like to do in security. So those are like engagement thing that you need to understand and gauge it. And you can just map it with all kinds of systems, network, everything else that we do in security, and see like where this person's interests take. So for example, coding, somebody was very good in coding. Oh, you know what, DevOps sounds very good for you. You want to take a look at it, how it is? So it's like mapping it towards the technical interest, the personal interest, and professional, bringing it together and mapping it towards the career.
So for you guys as an organization, do you look at your list of mentors and kind of understand where their strengths and weaknesses lie, and then your list of mentees and where you think their strengths and weaknesses lie, and then try to make smart pairings there? Or is it more random than that?
Yeah, the former.
Okay.
We have the mentees fill out a form when they come in. Mentors follow a similar process, and there's a lot of thought that goes into that pairing, and it evolves as it goes along as well. Sometimes you'll find maybe it wasn't, the right match, and so for the next round you'll match them with somebody else. But typically it works out because there's so much thought that goes into it.
Now on the backside of this, and maybe this is too new to talk about, but I think Arun had mentioned earlier a little bit of like the sales leaders of the year or whatever. Is when a mentor-mentee situation is successful and the mentee either figures out the path that they're going down or starts to go down that path or even gets down that path, is there recognition for the work that either of those people has done?
Yes, we would like to create WomSA success stories, I call it, and we want to see our mentees turn into mentors. That's how our life cycle management would work well, right?
Yeah, right.
Otherwise, we'll just keep pumping it and there is no output, right? So we would like to see our mentors, our members/mentees turns into mentors and recycle it. And this is how it's going to be. So that will be very helpful for us to grow and engage.
The question I think, at least I have, and some of our viewers will as well, is where do I sign up? Like,
Yes.
how do we become mentors?
Yes.
www.womsa.com. That's WOMSA. And there's a tab, become a mentee, and there's a link for mentors as well. So it walks you right through that process.
So speaking of your website, I know that you guys have an event coming up on February 4th. Let's talk a little bit about what that event is, and then we will certainly in the description share the link and all of that sort of stuff as well. But talk a little bit about your February 4th event.
Yeah, absolutely. So the event that's a good segue because it's all about expanding the talent pool, and it's in conjunction with the Cybersecurity Consortium in West Michigan. So we've put our heads together on this and created two panels. One panel where Joanna will be moderating, and we have another panel. So yeah, she's everywhere. So we have another panel where we have leaders in various industries who are going to be talking about what they're looking for in candidates and what, how they feel they could expand the talent pool. And then the other panel is the potential candidates. And as Joanna and others have mentioned, there's not always a meeting of the minds of those two different groups. So the goal of this event is to help each group understand what each is looking for and hopefully some consciousness expanding will happen during that, and we can help bridge that gap. But it should be a great event, well attended. You can find it on our website and sign up for it on our website under the events tab. So you can look at the entire agenda there if you'd like.
We canceled a recording of our normal YouTube series so that all of us can attend. So we will all be there. So if there were one thing that you could tell anyone that's watching this to go out and start doing tomorrow, next week, sometime, to go from a state of where we're at now, which is really bad security and a whole bunch of other things, to a much better state, what would that be? Arun, I'm going to start with you.
If you're somebody relatively young and interested in security, the thing I would suggest to people is get associated with an organization like WomSA or CSA, where you can tap the wealth of people's experience and get mentors that way as well. Because otherwise the gap is too big to go from the knowledge level you're at university to where you have to be. But if you make friends through these gatherings like this, you could be in multiple. You'll find mentors, you'll make friends that'll help you chart your course in life, and then you can give something back as you get through your career. And one thing that I wanted to add is I really like what Ranu said. People just think security is firewall management or something. There's so much breadth of stuff out there that we need to do a better job marketing that can better fit people's personalities and skills.
Yeah, 100%. Becca, I'll throw it over to you. One thing you want people to do.
So for the employers, it's one thing to claim that you value diverse teams, but it's another to live those values. So, there's very clear education out there on how to live those values and how to make your organization more diverse, and including having something simple like having your HR department stop relying on the same sources over and over again for candidates. That happens all the time. So yep. I would just say change that aspect of your culture.
Yep. That's excellent. And then Ranu, how about you? One thing you'd like to see people change?
I would just shamelessly say support and promote WomSA.
Well, I do think, I do think that's an important statement though, because, we talk about, and I think our CSA chapter here is, we did a lot last year and we're continuing to try to be involved in the community and doing a lot of stuff. But that does require the support of the community to turn around and to be able to do stuff. So I 100% agree. If there are organizations that are in your area that are out there that are trying to do good things, you got to support them with your time and your energy and your money and your attention and all of that, or they'll disappear, right? The only way that any of this stuff is successful is if everyone stays involved and supports them. Otherwise, again, things will just go away, right? And then we're no further ahead than we were. So Anthony, Lloyd, Joanna, any final comments before we wrap up here? We've said a lot.
We certainly have. I think I'd echo what everybody has said here. Definitely encourage everybody to consider diversity for your teams, to bring that in. Even if your organization doesn't have a strong diversity program, be that champion, be that leader that tries to drive that and that brings it into your organization and really helps grow that. So yeah, definitely echoing what we said here today. It's great.
Well, I think what Rebecca said just a few minutes ago of living it and not just talking it is what's important. I feel like sometimes we're currently living in a world of platitudes, and I think we need to be living in a world of action and not just words. So that's my recommendation to everyone is don't just talk about these things. Let's go out and actually live them every day. So awesome stuff. I think we learned some things today. That's how I like to end everything. I super appreciate everyone that watched this. Arun, Rebecca, Ranu, we really appreciate you guys being a part of this today. Joanna, welcome to the team. You other two knuckleheads, I see you all the time anyways. Please, if you're watching this, like, subscribe, share, do all of that kind of fun YouTube stuff. and truly understand that security is more than pushing buttons. It's more than buying products. To have really good security, you need a diverse group of people and diversity in thought inside of your organization. Not having that is really, truly bad security. And of course, we want to have as good a security teams as possible. So thank you everyone for watching, and we will see you again next episode.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you. Pleasure.